Hello, everyone. This is Kevin again doing the Worthy Law podcast. This one is for January 2020. Here we are. It is a new year, and so we're starting up with some new podcasts. This time, I want to talk about a couple things that some people might find pretty controversial. I personally don't have issues with them. I guess I don't necessarily agree 100% with everything that these different groups talk about. But I wanted to highlight a couple of nonprofit groups that I've gotten interested in over the last year or two. And one of them is called 40 Days for Life. That is a pro-life group. They do a prayer campaign twice a year, and each campaign is 40 days. And so they call it 40 Days for Life. They've been doing this for quite a while. I don't know if it's 10 years or 15 years or longer, but they've been doing these prayer campaigns for quite a while, and they have had a lot of success in helping people to understand the right to life and how important it is to protect the life of children, whether they're unborn or recently born or whatever the case might be. So their spring prayer campaign is coming up pretty soon. That is going to start around the end of February and run through the beginning of March. And I, in that connection, wanted to mention that this is the first year that I've ever really paid attention to the March for Life. But I watched some of the coverage of the March for Life in D.C., and I was impressed with that. There were some good prayers. I guess really only one prayer that I remember, but it was a nice prayer. And a lot of good speeches, a lot of interesting things were said. And I was impressed just by the sheer number of people that congregated in Washington, D.C. I looked at some video, some time-lapse video and pictures and things, and heard some estimates, and it sounded like there were hundreds of thousands of people there that had gathered from all over the place. So that was interesting to see and encouraging for me, because I do believe that the right to life is an important right. It's enshrined in the Constitution. Well, no, it's enshrined in the Declaration of Independence. Thomas Jefferson talked about the right to life, as well as the right to liberty and the pursuit of happiness. And I believe that that right to life is an important right. It's a legal right. It's a God-given right. We're endowed by our Creator with that right. I think that Mr. Jefferson was absolutely correct when he said that we are endowed by God with the right to life. And I believe that that right applies to the unborn as well as to people that are already living. So I think that's great to see people marching for that and standing up for that. So many people have been killed since Roe v. Wade was decided 47 years ago this year. And it's millions, over 60 million from what I understand, people have been killed since the decision of Roe v. Wade. And that is a huge, huge, huge number. Now, again, like I said, some people would say, well, no, they're not really people. And that's not really a debate that I want to get into right now, especially because there's no one to debate. I'm just saying what I believe. But I do believe that unborn children are people. And so killing them is a very, very serious matter. And so it is encouraging to me to see the March for Life in D.C. And then the next day, I went to the March for Life here in Utah. There were about 2,500, 3,000 people, something like that. I'm not sure. I heard some different estimates and looked around, and it was a lot of people. I was a little bit surprised at how many people there were, but beautiful hall. The state capitol, one of the floors was blocked off. They had a bunch of chairs. All the chairs were full. People standing all over the place. People standing on the balconies. They had one or two nice prayers there as well, and then a bunch of speeches. Dusty Johns spoke there. So she had a really interesting story. She actually had an abortion years ago and then realized, even while she was doing it, she realized that it was a really bad idea. But she didn't really come full circle to the pro-life movement until pretty recently. But she had some good help, some good support, and people that were showing her some things. It really opened her eyes and helped her to find healing. I think it's important for post-abortive women to find healing. We could really emphasize the aggression against. We could be really aggressive against them, and I think we're aggressive enough when we say that their unborn children are in fact children, and it's not okay to kill them. To me, that's plenty aggressive. But I think also one thing that we can do is be helpful and supportive and help them to find healing if they've made bad choices. So that was great to hear her speaking and great to see the rally up there. And God knows I've made lots and lots of bad choices in my life. So I pray for mercy for myself as well as others. So that was a really encouraging set of events. There were some other things too. I don't want to try to cover everything in a short podcast, but was really appreciative of that. And 40 Days for Life, like I said, is one of those nonprofits that I think is doing some really good work. Another one that I just wanted to mention briefly is the NCOSE. That's the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. And I want to mention them because they recently, I think they sponsored, they were certainly helping to advertise and get the word out about a new documentary that was just released in theaters for one day only, and it was called Blind Eyes Opened. It's I think you might be able to get it on DVD. I haven't looked. I did go into the theaters to watch it, and it was really powerful. It was basically about sex trafficking in the United States and what a big deal sex trafficking is and how it is tied up into the commercial sex industry. And I thought it was a really, really good video, really good documentary. They had about 6 different women who had been through the sex trafficking ordeal, and they told some of their stories, and it was really eye-opening for me. I knew a little bit about that part of the world, but not a whole lot, and God help us to deal with that. So the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, they're very, very concerned with sex trafficking, doing a lot to try to stop that as much as they can, discourage that, help people come out of that, all that kind of stuff. So that's another one of those nonprofit organizations that I think is doing some really, really good work. So I just wanted to let you know about those and encourage you to find out more about them. If you are a praying person, you can get involved with the 40 Days for Life Spring Prayer Campaign that's coming up. And then NCOSE, they've got a website with news updates and things that you can do. Certainly you can pray for them and for their success. And then also follow what they're doing. And every once in a while they'll have different things that you can do. Of course, you could donate money to either group, but if you don't have a lot of money to donate, there are other things that you can do as well. So I'd encourage you to check those out, and otherwise just to get involved with good nonprofits. I've been getting more interested in nonprofits and nonprofit law lately, and so I wanted to highlight those two. And I think that's it for this month's podcast. So if you've made it this far, thanks again for listening, and God bless.